Mr. Conlon, is per the DCA waiver for the audit. I don't believe we need a waiver from DCA because they
That's
removed
correct.
the water department from under the MOU.
That is correct. I received that information from Isabel Garcia, and I forwarded that to Councilman Rodriguez per his request.
I received it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right.
My pleasure.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
I can partially hear you, Council Vice President. You're fading in and out.
Conlon, Mr. Conlon, this is Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson. Could you email me the link?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do that right now.
Mr. Conlon, are you ready? Everyone's ready?
I have emailed the link to Council Vice President, so she may want to switch from one device to the other.
Do we have a
I think she's switching from her phone to her computer device.
I'm just trying to make sure that we have a quorum here. Councilman Rodriguez, Councilwoman Vaughn, is Councilman Michelle on? I need to know if I have a quorum, ladies and gentlemen.
Councilwoman Vaughn is present.
Mr. Rodriguez is present as well.
Yeah, I'm present.
Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson is present.
We have a quorum now, and I believe Mr. Michelle is actually here as well.
That's correct. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to Public Laws 1975, Chapter 231. This agenda is complete to the extent known and was sent to Trenton Times and the Trentonian newspapers, posted on the first floor bulletin board in the City Hall, and filed in the City Clerk's office and posted on the City of Trenton's website. Formal action will be taken. Roll call, Mr.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely. Blakely's not here yet. Ms. Caldwell Wilson.
Present.
Mr. Harrison.
Present.
Mr. Michelle. Mr. Michelle.
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Ms. Vaughn. Councilmember Vaughn. Councilmember Vaughn. She was here a second ago. Mr. Blakely. Council President McBride.
present.
We have 5 of 7 members. That is a quorum. I'll now call the directors. Mr. Cruz.
Good evening, present.
Mr. Cherry. Good evening, sir.
Present. Good evening, sir.
Mr. Manali. Who is here from the law department?
Sean Williams and Julie Murray.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Welcome. Director Coley.
Present.
Acting Director Mazer.
Present.
Mr. Delisle. Anybody here from the health department? Representing the health department, please announce yourself.
Mr. Clerk, Ms. Ruth Carter is going to be on the call, and I'm not sure if she could hear us. But I just spoke to her, by the way.
Excellent. Ms. Carter.
Hello?
Ms. Carter, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Director Onatieri.
Yes, present.
Good to see you, sir. Ms. Richardson. Director Richardson.
Present.
Acting Director Lavenberg.
Good evening, present.
Ms. Schoener.
Present.
I'll go back to the council again. Mr. Blakely, have you arrived, sir? Councilmember Vaughn, have you returned? We shall proceed. They'll be marked absent. If we could all bow our heads for an invocation. In this invocation, we're going to ask a special blessing for Ms. Ola Williams, who passed from this world on October 10th, 2020.
And all of the other victims, please.
Yes, ma'am. And you know, Ms. Ola Williams was a victim of gun violence. There are 30 other victims of gun violence. This prayer is especially for them tonight. Almighty God, who holds the fate of man and nation, we most humbly beseech thee, bless this our city, these deliberations and these thy servants, that they may act with wisdom and understanding for the good of our community and thy greater glory. Please accept those who have lost their lives to gun violence in the city into your hands, and we pray and beseech you in your name. Amen.
Amen.
If we could all rise for a flag salute.
Is that Councilwoman Vaughn?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, she's returned. If we could all rise for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the
To
flag
the flag.
of the United States of America and to
And
the
Republic
which stands
stands one nation,
one nation under God,
God,
indivisible with liberty
justice.
justice for all.
Before we proceed into the regular business, we would like to read into the record a proclamation in memory of a former city employee who passed, Ms. Ola Williams. Council President, would you like me to proceed?
Yes, would you please?
Whereas Ms. Ola Williams, a lifelong citizen of the City of Trenton and former City of Trenton employee, passed from this world on October 10th, 2020. And whereas Ms. Ola Williams was beloved and known for her work and dedication to the children of the City of Trenton and for spreading love and joy to everyone she met. And whereas Ms. Williams' broad smile, fun, and loving nature highlighted her countless acts of charity, giving, and caring for others. And whereas Ms. Ola Williams is celebrated as an example to the citizens of Trenton of how to live a life full of love and affection and how to share the best of yourself with others. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Council of the City of Trenton in celebration of the life of Ms. Ola Williams that the City of Trenton is sincerely grateful for Ms. Ola Williams' contributions to the city through her many random acts of kindness and for her dedication to her family, friends, neighbors, and the children of the community. We wish you Godspeed and eternal peace.
Thank you.
Amen.
I'll pick that up and take it to her family, Mr. Collins.
Yes, ma'am. It'll be prepared. It'll be ready for you tomorrow. Just before we go to the approval of the minutes, I did poll. If anybody is not speaking, put their phones on mute. Okay, thank you. I had a request with regard to the minutes of September 3rd. I have pulled those for consideration, considering that request. It is not a request I can discuss in open session. I will send an email to the council with regard to the document that I received with regard to those minutes. I am pulling those minutes for consideration tonight for, just to make, I haven't had an adequate chance to review them considering the document that I received. So I am pulling the minutes of September 3rd for consideration. However, we do have the minutes of July 2nd, which we sent out to the council. And I'm seeking a motion to approve those minutes of June 2nd, my apologies, from the council. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion from Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember McBride. All in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, the minutes of June 2nd, 2020 are approved. We will now move on to communications, petitions, and reports. The clerk's office received 19 communications. We only have one report. We have submitted the monthly revenue report for the clerk's office for funds collected by the office staff, which is a total of $133,851.60. Do I have a motion to approve the petitions, communications, and the report of the clerk's office?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilmember Caldwell-Wilson. I have a second from Mr. Harrison. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So ordered. The communication petitions and report of the clerk's office are approved. We have no unfinished business with regard to any second readings of public hearings of ordinances. Council President, if you'd like, I will move on to the new business.
Yes.
New business, we have resolutions. We have a number of resolutions on the consent agenda. I will read the numbers of the consent agenda resolutions into the record. However, I want to ask first, before I do that, do any of the council wish to remove any of the items that were decided for the consent agenda on Tuesday from the consent agenda tonight?
Yes, Council President McBride,
Yes, go right ahead.
I would like to remove Resolution R 20-631.
Our 2631 will be roll called. Council President, shall I now read the numbers of the resolutions for the consent agenda into
Yes.
the record? First, we have Resolution 20-647. We also have for the consent agenda 20-648, 20-649, 20-620, 20-621, 20-623, 20-624, 20-625, 20-626, 20-631 has been removed from the consent agenda, so that will not be a part. 20-634 is part of the consent agenda, 20-635, 20-636, 20-637, 20-638, 20-640, 20-641, 20-642 are on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Uh,
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Was that Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. I'll now call the roll to approve the consent agenda. Mr. Blakely, have you arrived, sir? Mr. Blakely is absent. Excuse me. Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michel,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
You missed me, Mr. Conlon.
I was going to actually call you second to last, Council Vice President.
Okay.
Ms. Vaughn,
yes.
Council Vice President,
Yes.
Council President. Council President McBride, your vote to approve the consent agenda?
Yes. You didn't hear me? Yes.
No, ma'am, I didn't. So ordered, the consent agenda is approved. Once again, I'll call for Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely, have you arrived yet? Okay. We'll now move to the individual resolutions for consideration. First for roll call, we have Resolution 20-622, a resolution authorizing the City of Trenton to raise the bid threshold to match the State of New Jersey approved bid threshold for local units which has a qualified purchasing agent. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion by Councilmember Vaughn. Do I have a second?
The second?
I have a second by Councilmember Rodriguez. The floor is open for debate. Please seek recognition from the Council President.
We can proceed with the vote.
Yes, ma'am. On our roll call, 20-622. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely is still absent. Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
And no.
Council President McBride votes no. The resolution passes by a vote of 5-1, with Mr. Blakely being absent. Next, we have Resolution 20-646, a resolution authorizing the execution of a collective bargaining agreement.
Hi, it's Councilman Blakely.
You are being marked for arrival, sir. Thank you for putting in.
Hello, it's Councilman Blakely.
I have you, sir. I have you here now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, once again, I'll proceed back to Resolution 20-646, a resolution authorizing the execution of the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Trenton and the Trenton Superior Officers Association. Actually, and just for the record, this title was changed earlier today. I sent the new resolution out. I'll need to read the new resolution title. A resolution authorizing the execution of a 5-year contract of the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Trenton and the Trenton Police Department Trenton Superior Officers Association. This is Resolution 20-646. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Floor is open for debate.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Okay. Thank you for making the amendment, Business Administrator Cruz and also Clerk Collin. Much appreciated. I think the title is very clear now for anyone who maybe comes to the table later or you know, who just haven't been involved. But it kind of gives transparency as to what it is that we're talking about. So I got the email. I would like, if we can, to attach the content in the email, the real numbers, the actual numbers that I asked for to the resolution. It specifies the dollar amount by rank and the incremental increases each year. So it has the first year for all ranks. I believe that's from sergeant through captain. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes. Mr. Cruz?
Yes, that is correct.
And the salary will start first year, what's that, 2021 or 2020?
I don't have that in front of me. I believe it's in 2019.
Oh, it started, okay. So
Yes.
it started for all ranks is 142.7K.
I'd rather not discuss what the numbers are, Councilwoman, because this is actually a negotiated contract, and I don't know how proper it is to discuss it in public.
Well, okay. Can somebody bring some? Is the legal department, the law department on the line?
Well, I
Is this
actually
not-
so I consulted with the legal department as well as our labor attorney. And the terms of the contract, if we wanted to discuss them, we should have gone on executive session because
Oh, I
this
see.
is yes.
Okay. Well, at some point, I would want to do that because I think it's important considering the climate that we're in with police department reform and the criminal justice system reform. And of course, even in our own city, we have issues with, a high rate of instances of gun violence. So I think it's very important that the city, the citizens know and are aware how much resources we are allocating to remediate this issue or to eradicate and minimize gun violence in our city. I believe that it's important to make sure that the police department is well-resourced, and it looks like, from what I'm seeing, they are very well paid. And of course, that's with City of Trenton taxpayer dollars. I would also want to know, and I will raise the resolution with consultation with my council leadership, Council President McBride and Council Vice President Caldwell Wilson, to have this executive session, because I think this is a very, very important topic, because I want to have some insight and visibility and understanding what resources that this council can, and our city residents can agree to give our police department as we enter into budget season here. So if we need to give our police department and our homicide task force and some of the resources we got working in that agency to support our city and to get us into a safe place, then we need to know the numbers. We need to know how much money we need to allocate, how much human resources we need to allocate, how much equipment. So this is important. It's a very important conversation that we have to have. And I will certainly, next meeting, again, make certain that we have this conversation. And I want the prosecutor's office to be a part of that conversation, because those resources support Trenton. They support the whole county. And the other municipalities are not experiencing the gun violence that we're experiencing. So we're going to need resources from that agency as well. And I want to know how much it's costing. It's going to cost to get us there. So, and that's all I have to say about that for now. But, more to come. And I'm happy to raise the resolution to get us into executive session to properly discuss this information. Thank you, Business Administrator Cruz, for providing the information. And that's all I have to say, Council President. We can go to vote.
Any members need recognition?
Mr. Conlon, seeing no one else wanting to discuss it, we can move on.
Yes, ma'am. I'll now call the roll. Mr. Blakely, this is for approval of Resolution 20-646. This is for the Trenton Superior Officers Association contract.
No.
Mr. Blakely votes no. Mr. Harrison?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. Mr. Harrison votes yes. Mr. Michelle?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
No.
Council President McBride? I'm sorry, Council Vice President Caldwell Wilson?
Yes.
Council President McBride?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5-2. The contract is approved. Next, we will move on to Resolution 20-627. A resolution awarding the contract through a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44A 20.4 et sec to realauction.com LLC to host online tax sales for the City of Trenton Department of Finance Division of Tax in an amount not to exceed $140,000 through RFP 2020-25. Do I have a motion?
So,
I'm sorry, which one is this?
This is Resolution
627. This is the one
20-627.
with the tax certificates being online, and formerly you asked about why couldn't they share the services with our IT department.
Oh yeah. I have some comments there.
Before you go, I have a motion for Mr. Harrison. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second for Ms. Caldwell Wilson. The floor is open for debate. Please seek recognition from the Council President.
Council President McBride?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, so this is a very interesting resolution, and it's good to know that we're trying to enhance our capabilities around getting this information out to the public. But current day, I'm receiving a lot of complaints, and I'm sure some of the residents are on the line right now, waiting to voice their concerns or experience with the tax collector's office. Folks are very interested in getting some of these properties that have these liens on them, and they've been encountering a lot of resistance when they come into this office. So I just want, at some juncture during this meeting, tax collector Constance Luden to discuss how better we can get this information to residents of the city who are interested in acquiring these liens. Because I don't understand the sentiment that I'm hearing day after day about how, you know, the Office of Tax Collection is not resident friendly. So I have a major concern about that, because I believe, hey, anybody who comes to City Hall for information should be given it, and they shouldn't encounter roadblocks. So is Ms. Luden on the line?
She is.
Here.
Ms. Luden, can you speak to our residents who are here on the line this evening, who have some concerns and have addressed issues? And I know you have spoken to a lot of them, because I have awarded some of those, some of that sentiment over to you, and folks seem to you're not giving them any information regarding, you know, what's available.
I don't really know where that's coming from. Everyone who wants information about liens is afforded the information that they can get legally. Anyone who wants a list of liens for the city is directed to file an OPRA request, and OPRA requests are answered almost immediately from this office.
Well, I can't speak for the certain individuals, but I know that there are individuals who said even when they have submitted the OPRA request, they still don't get the information.
That's absolutely incorrect, but you can take that up with the clerk's office if they're not getting their OPRA requests. To my knowledge, there's no OPRA requests that are outstanding from my office.
Okay. All right. So I have seen some of the information that's required, and some of the data appears to be obfuscated or not being shown in the reports. So it's just something that we all should just take a look at, and because I can't imagine, maybe there's some disconnect in communication or understanding, but if that's the case, we should be able to bridge that gap. So I'm just going to leave it there, and Council President, I yield my time. Thank you.
Any other members of council wish to be recognized? Council President would like me to proceed to the vote?
Yes, please.
Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
Vote is recorded 6-1. The resolution passes, so ordered. Next, we have Resolution 20-628, a resolution authorizing sub-grant agreements with various community-based organizations to provide housing and supportive services to the homeless, disabled individuals and families in the city of Trenton and surrounding areas in an amount of $1,239,537. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion by Mr. Blakely. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Harrison. Floor is open for debate.
Madam President?
Yes, go right ahead, Council Vice Chair.
This resolution I have is signed by Shakira Abdul Ali, and she's no longer with us.
Actually, Council, I hate to interrupt you, Council Vice President, but Mr. Cruz did sign a second copy of that resolution.
Okay, thank you.
It would be in the second packet that was distributed. My apologies if you did not get that.
Okay, all
But
right,
Mr.
thank you.
Did sign it, yes.
And so,
Yes.
go right ahead, Councilwoman.
Yes, I just want to say that, you know, I believe I was the one who asked that this be roll called, because I asked for additional information. I just want the council, the colleagues to know that they did give the information, and I could see that it was advertised, but it's just a measure of, I don't believe it was adequately advertised. I think that we could do better in doing community outreach. And I won't, you know, I will certainly give my vote of a yes this evening, but I will continue to advocate for enhancing our capabilities around advertising and community outreach when it comes to funding that comes into the city by the state or federal. So I think that we need to enhance our processes around that so that we can reach a broader a group who would be interested in these type of programs and seem to not being included. Thank you, Council President.
I would like to make a statement on this particular resolution. I believe that the agencies that are receiving this type of funding from the city of Trenton need to give us a breakdown of exactly how many residents they help in the Trenton area, how many they help in the surrounding areas. And I know that we do have a system in place to track those numbers. And so when we talk about homelessness and putting out this substantial amount of money, and plus today at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Housing Authority, HUD presented us with another check in the tune of $6 million under the CARES Act for the homeless, but yet and still, I don't see the other municipalities taking on their responsibility for their homelessness. And so we have people on every entrance of the city standing out aggressively, panhandling. So this is a problem for me, and it's a problem because we never see the numbers from Catholic Charity, Arm in Arm, whichever organization that this money is going to now. There should be numbers attached to their application, how they're distributing the money, and we should also get that. And those organizations should come in front of this body and tell this body exactly and give a report to this body in reference to how many Trenton residents are actually being assisted with this type of money. And so when that CARES money is deposited into our account before the Health and Human Services dole it out, we should get some numbers from all of these organizations, and these organizations should have an appointment to come in front of the council to tell us about what they're doing with that money. And that's my statement. Thank you.
Any other members of council wish to be recognized by Council President? Council President, would you like me to proceed to the vote?
Yes, go right ahead.
This is for approval of Resolution 20-628. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
No.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
No.
Council Vice President.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
The ayes have it 4-3, so ordered. Next, we have Resolution 20-629, a resolution rejecting bids for live and online auction services of city-owned real estate for the City of Trenton, Department of Housing and Economic Development through bid 2019-56. Once again, I believe this is a housekeeping issue. I think that the bid had expired, but if you have any questions for Mr. Cruz, please feel free to ask. Do I have a motion on Resolution 20-629?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open for debate.
Again, Council President, it's Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, Councilwoman Vaughn, you have the floor.
I just want to quickly say again, as far as the economic development and the availability of housing, good, bad, or otherwise, vacant in the city, it appears to be a lot of interest amongst our residents about the Adopt a Lot program and acquiring a lot of this real estate. But it seems like, again, for whatever the reason, whether the Housing Economic Development Department has the resources or the tax collector office has the resources. But again, we got to do better in getting information out to the citizens of Trenton who have an interest and, building out and enhancing our roadways and streets and neighborhoods. If our residents can take on these properties and transfer them from public to private hands, then we need to have some mechanism in place at City Hall so that can be readily done. Because right now, folks, I'm hearing a lot too often that, Ms. Vaughn, I've gone to City Hall. I tried to call Director Delisle. I tried to work with Ms. Luden, and they give me no information. And that's what I'm hearing. As I said, for whatever reason, I don't really know what the bottlenecks are, but I think that I'm counting on BA Cruz and tax collector Luden and Housing and Economic Development Director Ben Delisle to try to build out these processes so we can better service our citizens. Thanks.
Any other members of council wish to be recognized?
Proceed with the vote.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Blakely, approval of Resolution 20-629.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson,
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0, so ordered. Next, we have Resolution 20-630, a resolution authorizing payment for a contract with Carroll Demolition awarded on an emergency basis for demolition services at various locations in the city of Trenton, not to exceed $86,940. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion by Ms. Vaughn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Rodriguez. Floor is open for debate.
Seeing no debate, you may continue with the vote.
Yes, ma'am. Now go to the vote for approval of Resolution 20-630. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council Vice President.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
Resolution passes 6-1. This required a supermajority as an emergency resolution, I believe, but it doesn't matter. We do have the supermajority, so Resolution 20-630 is carried. Next, we have Resolution 20-631, which was pulled from the consent agenda. This is a resolution to apply and accept professional planning services from the Department of Community Affairs, Office of Local Planning Services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Harrison. The floor is open for debate. Anybody wish to be recognized?
Yes. Council President McBride?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I had an opportunity. I was the one who roll called this and asked it to be pulled because I guess there was, after reading some of the information that was supplied, I had the opportunity to go through and read through what is being proposed by DCA Planning Services. But just, there's a couple of things that have to be done. Is Ben Delisle available?
He
Director
was
Delisle?
not. He may be here now. Mr. Delisle, are you here?
I am here.
I will mark you as present, sir. Yes. Ms.
Yes.
Vaughn, Mr. Delisle is present.
So if the council moves to approve this today, Mr. Delisle, subsequent to that approval, there's a couple more resolutions that you have to bring back to us, right?
Yes, after the study is done, and any recommendations for amendments to redevelopment plans, those would come before council to adopt those recommended changes to the plans.
No, on page 2, it says, upon adoption, it says a resolution Somebody, is someone speaking? Okay, so, once, it says the city of Trenton will, once we adopt this plan, this proposal, you will have to go and appoint a municipal contact, right, with the LPS, the Local Planning Services Division. Then you're going to have to get that approving the scope of the services, right? Is that this resolution?
Yes, that's this resolution. The scope is this resolution.
Okay, and then number 3, it says establishing a working committee for both phases 1 and 2. But I don't see the working committee. Who's the working committee?
I think that would be city staff and staff from the local planning, from DCA.
No.
No,
It needs to be someone from the community. If they're talking about altering the landscape of Trenton, then there has to be someone on that committee that is from the city of Trenton.
So yeah, it says appointing a municipal contact. So I guess that would be you, Mr. Delisle, right? For one, you have the document open?
I have it in front of me, yes.
Okay, so if you quickly go to page 2, and it says City of Trenton will, 1, adopt a resolution, which we're doing, right? And in that resolution, we have to appoint a municipal contact. Now, I'm thinking you, right?
Either me or my staff, like the planning supervising planner, Jeff Wilkerson.
Okay, and then it says approving the scope of the services. I saw the map, and I just have just a few questions with the map. And number 3 is the biggie. It says establishing a working committee for both phase 1 and phase 2. Now, who's on that committee? We haven't done that yet. And then it goes even deeper. If you go to page 6, it says, is it page 4 or 5? It says that we have to paragraph 6. I'm sorry, paragraph 6 on page 4. It says we have to what Council President was alluding to. We have to hold a public hearing and act on a final draft redevelopment plan. So we have to go out and have a public hearing with the community.
Sure.
So, but I don't see any of that kind of documented here, like particularly the working committee. And then it says up in the resolution part that the working committee, if you go to up in the resolution in the whereas clauses, it says, be it further resolved by the City of Trenton as follows. Number 1, the City of Trenton will retain professional planning services provided by LPS and provides and approves the attached scope of services for the project. And the one that kind of, that I have a question with, Council President and Vice President, is number 2. The City of Trenton establishes a working committee to assist LPS and authorizes the mayor or municipal designee to appoint the members of the working committee and or replacement members necessary to retain functionality of the committee in the event of vacancies. Now, Mr. Delisle, so the mayor gets to choose the designees in the committee, and he gets to replace them when the seats become vacant, and the council's supposed to just grant him that authority without coming to us? I have a concern with paragraph 2.
Right, Councilwoman, this is, a working group of professionals or interested people, whether it be on the planning board or city staff, or I'm happy to have suggestions from any of the council members, but this is just to help with the work and the planning process. Of course, we would have public meetings and come back to council and update you on the progress. But, once the work is done, then this would be dissolved. I mean, this is...
Number two, it says, I just want to repeat this because I take seriously what's in black and white.
Sure.
It says the City of Trenton establishes a working committee to assist local planning services and authorizes the mayor or his municipal designee to appoint the members of the working committee and/or any replacement members necessary to retain functionality of the committee in the event of vacancies. That sounds like a committee that I would want to be appointed to. But anyways, or anybody would want to be appointed to, right? So who are you have you thought about who's going to be on this committee?
No, Councilwoman, I don't have a list of names. I assumed it would be...
So why is it that we have to authorize the mayor to do that? Why can't we do that with the mayor and council? Or with the mayor or with the approval of council?
Again, Councilwoman, this is a working group of professionals to help...
I understand that, but that's not what I'm asking, Mr. Delisle. I'm asking about how we can do this in a collaborative in concert with the municipal council. So why can't that line say the mayor or his municipal designee, he can appoint them, but with the approval of council? That's why can't that language be in there?
So do you want to do an amendment on this resolution, Councilwoman Vaughn? Do you want to amend it on the floor?
Council President, I do.
All right, so could you offer up the amendment that you would like, and then we would discuss that amendment with the legal, who's our legal representative, because the motion is on the floor to table, and I'm saying if they amend it on the floor, could we move forward with it? Mr. Crew, can you answer that?
Madam President, I don't have I cannot provide a legal opinion. I know that the law department is actually here and perhaps they can chime in.
If we can get the law department, are they here? Mr. Cohen?
Yes, Rashawn Williams is here.
And Miss Julie Murray as well.
Okay. Can you go to the document that we're referencing, the resolution 2631?
Yes.
Can we amend today? Because it's just a small amendment, in my opinion.
Yes. You can make a motion to amend, and as long as the assembly agrees on the amendment by a majority vote, then yes, you can do it here.
Okay,
Council President?
So then
Council
Mr.
President?
Conlon, Mr. Conlon.
Yes, ma'am.
So we had a motion, was the motion on the floor to table?
That is the main motion. I would need Council Vice President to withdraw her motion to approve, because that would be the privileged motion on the floor. If she withdraws her motion to approve, we could do a motion to approve as amended.
I'll withdraw my motion.
The motion is withdrawn. You may feel free to amend.
Council President?
Oh, yes, Mr. Harrison.
Yes,
Go right ahead, and we'll move to amend it.
Right. Council President, Mr. Delisle, the working committee, that would be the planning board?
No.
Other city employees?
No, it wouldn't be the planning board. I mean, I guess there could be members of the planning board that would serve on it. Again, this is just a working group to help provide local planning services input, and that they know the municipality is a partner in doing the work. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so Councilwoman Vaughn, will you offer up your amendment?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Vaughn, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure the process is done correct with the city clerk.
Yeah, the Council Vice President Colwell Wilson withdrew her motion to her introduction of the motion, so she may feel free to enter to amend a subsidiary motion to amend.
Again, I just want to make sure this is clear. I don't think this is a huge deal, but I think it's a two-part. So there's a motion to amend that has to be accepted by the council, and then the actual amendment.
As amended, correct?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
But we're in the motion to amend.
Yes,
part,
right? yes, I got you.
So I have a motion to amend. Council Member Vaughn, would you please state your motion to amend?
Yes. Do I say so move to motion, or do you want me?
No, you're going to give me your amendment, and then I'm going to keep second on it, and then we're going to vote.
Yes. So my motion to amend paragraph 2 in the clause, be it further resolved, and it should read, the City of Trenton established a working committee to assist LPS and authorizes the mayor or municipal designee to appoint the members of the working committee and or any replacement members necessary to, and authorizes the mayor with the approval of council, right there. So let me back up, sorry. The City of Trenton establishes a working committee to assist LPS and authorizes the mayor with the approval of council.
Do you have that, Mr. Conlon?
I do.
Okay, could you read it back into the record?
This would be, the City of Trenton establishes a working committee to assist LPS and authorizes the mayor with the approval of the City Council or the mayor or municipal designee. It should actually go mayor or municipal designee.
With the approval of council.
Then with the approval of council or the City Council to appoint the members of the working committee and or any replacement members necessary to retain functionality of the committee in the event of vacancies.
Correct. Thank you.
Do I have a second to the motion to amend as stated?
I second it.
I have a second by Council President McBride.
So
I have just a quick question to the legal department. Can I move directly to approve as amended?
Yeah.
That's what I figured. So I have a motion to approve with an amendment to approve as amended by Council Member Vaughn and a second by Council Vice President. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Council President, I've seen none. Would you like me to proceed to the vote to approve Resolution 631 as amended?
Yes.
Okay. Again, this is as amended. It's reintroduced by Council Member Vaughn, second by Council President McBride. I'll call the roll. Mr. Blakely, as amended.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison, as amended. Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, are you still with us, sir?
I think it's muted.
Mr. Harrison, I'll come back to you for your vote. Mr. Michal, as amended.
No.
Mr. Michal votes no. Mr. Rodriguez, as amended.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaughn, as amended.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison, have you returned to us? Council Vice President, your vote.
Yes.
Council President McBride, I'm going to hold off. Mr. Harrison, are you still with us, sir?
Could you look on the thing and see if someone has muted him?
He is muted, but I don't think anybody muted him. I'm not sure what the issue is. Mr. Harrison, can you hear me, sir? He's exited. I'm going to give him a second to come back in, Council President.
Okay.
Take out that noise, please.
Hello?
Yeah, we're waiting for Mr. Harrison to return. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. There he is. Mr. Harrison, your vote, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Harrison votes yes. Council President McBride.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
I didn't vote.
I'm sorry. I had you down as a yes, ma'am.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, I
Okay.
called you before I went back to Mr. Harrison. That's why.
Okay.
The resolution passes as amended, 6-1. Next, we have Resolution 20-632, a resolution designating Nikolai Group LLC as redeveloper of properties located at Block 401, lots 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 for 141, 143-145, 147, 149, 151, 153, and 155 North Broad Street with the Canal Banks redevelopment area plan.
I think that we had moved the table, the 32 and 33, is it? Because they never
I
came.
need a formal motion to do so, ma'am.
All righty.
I have a motion to table by Council President McBride.
So moved. Second.
I have a second by Ms. Vaughn. I'll now call the roll to table. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely, sir, this is the motion to table 632. I'll come back to Mr. Blakely. Mr. Harrison, motion to table 632.
No.
Mr. Michelle, motion to table 632. Mr. Michelle?
Yes.
Mr. Michelle votes yes. Mr. Rodriguez, motion to table 632.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn, motion to table 632.
Yes.
Council Vice President, motion to table 632.
Yes.
I'll come back to Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely, have you rejoined us? Mr. Blakely, sir? Council President McBride, your motion to table 632.
Yes. Mr. Conlon, I
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
know if their mute system is not working because they just muted themselves, or are they being forced out? Mr. Harrison, were you forced out, or did you put yourself on mute?
The call dropped out. I had to keep trying to come back in. Somehow I couldn't get back. There was a static, and I couldn't hear nothing, then it dropped out. I kept trying to get back in.
Okay, I need to know that, Mr. Harrison, because we need to know how to try to repair this. So I needed to know if you were dropped out on, if you dropped out on your own, if there was a problem. Now I need to know the same thing when Councilman Blakely comes back on, if he had muted himself or if the system dropped him, because we need to try to get this running as smooth as we possibly can.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like me to take a minute and call Councilmember Blakely?
Well, no, you can move on with the vote, and then we'll find out.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to mark as absent. The vote has passed by a count of 5-1, with Mr. Blakely being marked as absent. Next, we'll move on to Resolution 20-633, a resolution designating Vessel Technologies, Inc. as redeveloper of property located at Block 501, lots 13, 14, and 15, 121 through 125 Perry Street within the Canal Banks redevelopment area plan.
Motion to table.
I have a motion to table by Council Vice President Caldwell Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Vaughn. And I'll call the roll. This is on a motion to table. And this is to table to the next meeting?
Yes.
It's to table until we get a presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, table till we get the presentation. And I'll call the roll. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely's still not joined us. I'll come back to him. Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison votes to table. Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez. This is to table,
Yes.
sir. Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Council Vice President.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine, ma'am. Council President McBride. I'll come back. Mr. Blakely, have you rejoined us? Mr. Blakely? Council President McBride.
Yes.
Matter is tabled. We will proceed. Next, we have Resolution 20-639, a resolution authorizing the signature for a loan application from the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Financing Program for Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the lead service line replacement program, Trenton Waterworks. This is Resolution 20-639. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Vaughn. Floor is open for debate.
Council President, it's Robin
Yes,
Vaughn.
correct.
Is Mark Lavenberg on the line?
He is.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Lavenberg. I just want to ask, I see this is the Phase 2 and Phase 3, right? So I noticed in the, that we initiated payment to Southgate and South State and Spinelli of $500,000 apiece at the end of September. So can you tell us what the status of the program is? How many lead lines have you replaced during the initial stages to date?
Yes. So to date, well, up until last Friday, because we do get a weekly update, and I'd be happy to provide anybody with that information. But we just eclipsed the 2,000 services mark last Friday for approximately about 2,100. We did set a record last week of getting 74 services done in a single week, and we're still in Phase 1 and 2. We're averaging, we're trying to average at least 300 a month at this clip. And Spinello is going to be going from 2 crews to 6 crews between now and the end of the year.
Okay, so Spinello is doing Ewing and Trenton, right? And South State is doing Hamilton and Lawrence, correct?
That is correct. That's where they are, but there are no defined lines with that. So we did have some issues with Spinello, and we've given them access to anything they can get done in Hamilton as well. So if we have any services, anybody that's signed up and ready to go, we want to get to them as soon as possible. So there's no distinct lines that are drawn as far as the contracts go. But you are correct. Spinello has been primarily working in the city limits.
Okay, so are these targets in line with what DEP has outlined since the last court session?
Since the last court session, yes, we are in line with those projections from the court session that we had. To answer your question wholly in relationship to the ACOs, yes, we are behind, but we are making ground rapidly. But that was an argument that we made before the judge in regards to the issues we had with the COVID and getting into houses. But thankfully, and extremely thankfully, that is starting to ease up. And we are addressing the ones, anybody that's signed up. And if I can just get a 2-minute pitch in there, if there's any constituents or anybody on this phone call that can get anybody to sign up or have us come out and make an inspection, I want to make that plea at every opportunity I get.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say, well, very quickly too, that there are some folks who have spoken to Spinello, and they have come out to certain individuals' houses like 3 or 4 times, and they keep pushing their street back because I guess their strategy is they're not going to come and do one-offs. They're going to do a couple of houses on several houses or more that's on the same block, right? So, go ahead.
No, that is correct, and we are hammering them every 2 weeks on our weekly updates with that to get them moving in that direction. But they are, okay. It's for them. They're trying to get them in clusters, but they do have a contractual obligation, and we're not budging on the numbers getting in.
Okay, because I just got some frustration from some residents that they were told their house was going to get completed, but then they got a phone call saying, nope, we're not going to do you until we do the whole street. So I don't know how you can better communicate that to the public that that it's going to be block by block versus individual, on the list where you're placed on the list.
Right. And I would appreciate any information like that if it can get forwarded to me. And I would encourage anybody in that scenario if they can talk to their neighbors and get us to come out and do an inspection. It only takes a few minutes to get in and do a survey to see what's going on. And in all truth be told, if say a house has a lead service that comes in, the chances of the neighbor to the right or to the left of that individual house having a lead service line is really probable. It's highly probable that's what it is. So they're the houses that we really desperately are trying to get into.
Okay. And so Mark, and my last question is, so these are, again, multi-million-dollar contracts. So how many Trentonians are you, have employed on these contracts?
I don't have the current numbers on that, but we are certainly including that in the phase 2 number contracts that are going out. I mean, understanding the concerns that the council has expressed. I don't have a number for that, but we are actively pursuing that with CDM to get that into the new contracts to make sure that they are putting the opportunity out there to hire Trentonians in whatever positions possible to assist with that. So that is a mission that I've undertaken.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So Mr. Lavenberg, Mr. Lavenberg, this is Council President McBride. So I just have a question to ask about the infrastructure bank. The infrastructure bank, is that federal? Are those federal dollars?
Or
are they state dollars?
It's managed by the state. Okay, this New Jersey infrastructure, but it is actually funded partially by federal money as well.
Okay, so because the first $16 million was from the infrastructure bank, and under that, and if those are federal dollars, there is a stipulation in there where the residents of Trenton should be placed to work because there's federal dollars being used. So it wasn't looked at under the previous directors, and I understand that you're just filling in this spot as acting director, but this is not something that the council is saying that we want. It's something that the federal guideline says. Am I not correct with that?
Again, I'm not the bond counsel on this, but that is my understanding as well. But I just want you to know that whether the council's asking for it or federal people are asking for it, that's something that I want to see out of the contractors working in the city of Trenton.
All right, because I want to. It's okay to see it out of the contractors, but I want to see it if it's a part of the law. If the federal dollars are being used for a project, and those federal dollars says that you have to employ the local residents, I want to see that piece implemented because it's what the guideline says. Thank you.
I hear you loud and clear, Council President.
Council President?
President?
Oh, I see.
Go ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, I have a question to Mr. Lavender. I drove by Perry Street last week, and I saw I guess that they replaced them all there, but there's like holes all over. It's very, very bumpy ride. What are they going to do? Are they going to repave the whole streets? Because it's every house they are doing, and it's destroying the whole streets. Some of them were repaved recently. Is part of the contract repaving the whole street or just patching up the holes they are making?
So, Councilman Rodriguez, the contract, the way it works is when they do the initial hole, they'll put it in, compact the soil, and then what they do is they put on what's called cold patch, which is a temporary patch. Yes, I understand. And then 6 months later, they come out, remove the cold patch, recompact it, and then they put in a base layer of asphalt and a finish layer on top. And, that's what's contractually obligated with that. But, I want to be totally transparent with you guys when you do work like this. And, this has been going on for a while. Eventually it needs to get put on a list of the street has to be repaved. So you understand if you're doing 16 of these, like on a block, you can put it in and put all the patches, the hot patch you want. But at some point, once you cut the street, it's going to have to be done as well.
That's right, and we have repaid some, especially like South Clinton Avenue, and some streets that have been they were repaid recently, and
yes.
I'm very worried about
Hold on one second. We have some background noise. If the public can remember to mute themselves, please, so we don't have any issues with people being able to hear. I apologize for the interruption. Thank you.
Council President?
Is Councilman Rodriguez finished with his question?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Okay, I just want to follow up with what Councilman Rodriguez was discussing. We were always talking about proposing an ordinance, right, to adopt the ordinance into our municipality to make it law that any contractor that's doing work in our municipality that disturbs any part or portion of our public property, streets, whatever, that they're obligated to fix it and put it back to a reasonable condition. So who is best to adopt that ordinance or write it up? Is that Mark in conjunction or collaboration with Mr. Onetary? Or is it the council members who wants to introduce that ordinance? I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I think it would be better to come from the administration. But that's just my opinion, my 2 cents. Mark, what do you think? I mean, Mr. Levenberg, what do you think?
Mark or Mr. Mark is just fine, Councilwoman. Not to delve too far into the politics, given my position, but I certainly agree with your position on that and an ordinance such as that. And Mr. Onetary and I, we've had a few conversations in my brief tenure, and I'd be happy to work with him in relationship to that, because I certainly agree. Particularly in the city limits, there's a lot of streets that need a lot of work, and a lot of it is related to water main damage and water service damage as well. I drive down New York Avenue every day. It's atrocious.
Well, I mean, because Mark, Mr. Lavenberg, before you came on, your predecessor, Mr. Smith, he introduced the ordinance to change the rates. So I would think that you guys can introduce the ordinance to change, to work with your external vendors, to contractors to do the right thing in the city of Trenton. I mean, my understanding, this is a common ordinance that a lot of other municipalities have. So if you guys could do that, that'd be wonderful. So, but I'll move on. But I just wanted to know, is Miss Abdul Razak on the line? Because she's the EEO Affirmative Action, right? Mr. Williams or Ms. Murray? And the legal department?
Yes, this is Mr. Williams.
Okay. So we're talking about being EEO Affirmative Action compliant with as it relates to contractors that are receiving public funding, federal funds to do these capital projects. And we've been trying to get the law department, and I believe Ms. Abdul Razak is the person who's responsible or was assigned to this effort to go out to Spinello and South State to ensure that they are out there recruiting Trentonians. Now, has that taken place?
Councilwoman, I'm not sure, but I'll have to follow up with Miss Razak. I think she had an incident today at work, so she wasn't in, but I'll follow up with her. I don't know. This is my first time hearing about this.
So no one from the law department can give us a status on whether or not we have engaged these contractors who have multi-million-dollar contracts with the city of Trenton to get our residents jobs.
No, not at this moment. Again, I can follow up.
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
I can follow up tomorrow.
We'll take it, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
All right. Can you get back to Mr. Collin with that, Mr. Williams? Clerk?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
Councilman.
that's resolution 2639, right? We want to know where is Ms. Razak and engaging Benelio and South State specifically. Okay?
Okay.
Council President, can I just say a word?
I don't know. Yes, Mr. Lavenberg, is that you?
Yes, in regards to Ms. Vaughn's inquiry. It was, I forget if it was 2 weeks ago, the meeting, or the meeting after that. Ms. Razak had reached out to me that night in relationship to this to review our contracts. So we are pulling together our contracts for her, but I did lose touch with her right after that. So I know she was ill when I called. She had something had come up that day, but I mean, I was anticipating her phone call. We received the phone call, and we're ready to get into that because again, that's a very important issue for us.
Yes, and it is a very important issue for the city of Trenton and its residents who are who face an unprecedented. We have lots of folks who are below the poverty level, and we want them to get some work. And this is an opportunity to get them work and help build up our economy. So this is very important. And another thing, Mr. Lavenberg, I would just ask that if she doesn't reach out to you, if you can be proactive and reach out to her and just try to move this thing along very quickly. Because one thing we don't want to sit here a year from now and say, oh, the projects are done and not one Trentonian was employed, right? I want this to be done I would like to have this, see this done expeditiously. There's no reason we do not want to sit here in hindsight and say, oh, the projects are done, the funds have been dispersed, and not one Trenton, not any of this money has been retained in our borders, right?
I absolutely agree, Council.
That would be a sad story. That would be a sad story to tell. Thanks. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Mr. Conlon, you may move on with the vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. I have an introduction by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson, a second by Councilmember Vaughn. I'll now call the roll. Mr. Blakely, I noticed you're back. Mr. Blakely, your vote, sir.
I'm having difficulty logging in for some reason, but can you read the title of the
Absolutely, sir. This is Resolution 20-639, a resolution authorizing the signature for a loan application from the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Financing Program for Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the lead service line replacement program for Trenton Waterworks.
Yes.
Mr. Blakely votes yes. Mr. Harrison, your vote, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Michelle, your vote, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, your vote, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn, your vote, ma'am.
Yes.
Council Vice President, your vote, ma'am.
Yes.
Council President McBride, your vote, ma'am.
No.
Resolution carries 6-1. Next, we have Resolution 20-643, a resolution awarding a contract through a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 1944A-20.4 et sec to Mott McDonald LLC for engineering services for construction of the raw water intake in an amount not to exceed $421,691 through RFP 2020-42. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. The floor is open for debate. Any council members wish to be recognized?
I just want to make a statement. Mott McDonald was the same engineering firm that got the first allotment of the bonds back in 2011 or 2012 to drain that reservoir to put those tanks in. They were the engineer company that was assigned to drain that reservoir, to put those tanks outside of the reservoir, and to run pipes to American Water, which later on they said American Water said that they would not go for the deal because they did not want Trenton to lay those pipes in, and that part of it had foil, but the tanks, we only got 2 tanks out of that, and Mott and McDonald was the engineers on that. So I would not be supporting this. Thank you.
Any other council members wish to be recognized for debate?
The Council President?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, I have my reservations with this McDonald company also because I just saw their name in the papers the last couple of days about this willing and dealing with Mr. Smith. I have reservations. Also, I find this to be too much money. Between this resolution and the next one is over $6 million for that project. You know, I have my reservations on that. You know, does it cost that much? Is what McDonald's going to do worth over $400,000? You know, that they have been milking the system for years, the same people. And as Ms. McBride said, they haven't accomplished much. They don't have much to show for the money they have been getting from the city. So I have my reservations on that, and I will be voting no also.
Me too.
Any other members of council wish to be recognized by the council president? Council President, would you like
President McBride?
Mr.
Yes.
Blake.
President McBride?
Yes, Councilman.
Can I have, thank you. Can I have someone from the Water Department to address my colleagues' concerns? This is disturbing to hear, and I'd like to have an explanation from the administration to address their concerns or confirm or deny their concerns.
Council President, may I speak?
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Lavenberg.
So, I understand your concerns, and to a certain extent, I share your concerns as well. One of the attempts that we did this year with the general consulting engineering contract, as you're well aware, and I'm grateful that you approved, was to break up the general engineering into 4 different groups for 4 different disciplines, so we weren't putting all our eggs in one basket per se. The RFP that was submitted for or issued for this project in particular, we only had 2 respondents to it, or 2 that were qualified for the job. The award went to Mott McDonald because Mott McDonald had already previously done the design. It was a 2-year design for the intake, and that's the big number that's coming up next as well. And if we had issued it to the other engineer, we just had to make the assumption, since they didn't design it, they were going to do a different plan, and we didn't have time to actually incorporate that into the original project of the intake. Our back on this project is really up against the wall, as you're well aware. This is integral to the ACO in relationship to the reservoir and draining the reservoir and taking that offline. But we can't begin the work on the reservoir until this intake is done. Mr. Conlon was gracious enough to get an email out giving a far more eloquent explanation of the project that was put together today. Well, it was put together with the RFP that explains the work that's going on and the age of the infrastructure. So, looking at the RFPs that came in, Mott McDonald was, far and above the best qualified to do it. Now, the cost is certainly understandable as well, but a project of this nature with the timing of it is going to have a full-time inspector that's going to be on site, as the project goes, every day of the week that the work is going on, versus, what normally happens with other projects where you have an engineer that comes in like once or twice a month and has an update meeting and really kind of checks on what's going on. But the urgency of this job and need of which it needs to be done does demand to have a full-time, engineer that's familiar with the design and how it's built, and each stage has how it goes, and to address the questions on a day-to-day basis so we can get this project done in time to meet the ACO.
Mr. Conlon, you may continue.
Yes, ma'am. I'll now call the roll. This is for Resolution 20-643. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
No.
Ms. Vaughn.
No.
Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
Motion passes 4-3, so ordered. 20-643. Next, we have Resolution 20-644, a resolution accepting bids and awarding a contract to Act 2 LLC for raw water intake improvements to oversee the construction of the raw water intake structure modifications at the water filtration plant, including review of shop drawings, supervision of construction work, validation of invoices, scheduling, resolving conflicts and requests, coordination with TWW equipment, preparation of procedures of TWW operations, and training of TWW personnel in an amount not to exceed $5,550,000 through a bid of 2020-58. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Harrison. The floor is open for debate. Please, any council member wishing to speak, please take recognition.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm just, the value of this contract, $5,550,000. $5 million. That is a significant, and that is a significant number. 5.5 million. And you have various type of initiatives. Supervisor of the construction work. I mean, these are functions that we have expertise in-house. Validation of invoices. Scheduling. These are, project manager type functions for 5.5 million. I just can't, in good conscience, do this to the taxpayers of Trenton. Council President, that's the comments that I want to make.
All right, Mr. Collin, you can move on to the vote.
Yes, ma'am. Now call the roll for 20-644. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, your vote, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Michelle. Yeah, I did, sir. Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
No.
Ms. Vaughn.
No.
Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
Motion carries 4-3, so ordered. 20-644 passes. Finally, we have Resolution 20-645, a resolution awarding a contract through a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44A-20.4 et sec to Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. for engineering services for Phase 1 and 2 of the decentralized water storage tank project in an amount not to exceed $650,000 through RFP 2020-38. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Blakely. The floor is open for debate. Anyone wishing to be recognized, please see Council President.
Madam President,
Go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
this one is the first, I mentioned it Tuesday, $650,000 for the prints and stuff on that project. That was supposed to have been done by Mr. McDaniel,
Exactly.
Council President said before. So we're going to redo that again, give out $650,000 to another company. When that was done already, most of this stuff was done already. The engineering part already done. So why we have to duplicate those? Why don't we get those studies done by the last engineer company and do the RFP based on whoever uses those prints or studies or whatever, and keep on going on that. But now, no, it's a repetition. We have to start it new, and that means that money that was given to Mr. McDonald in the past was a gift to Mr. McDonald because he never completed it. That's my opinion, and I will be voting no.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, I would like to ask Mr. Lattenberg to kind of respond to the councilman and his questions.
Yes, Councilwoman. I do also share his frustration with the work that preceded that, I believe, back in 2010, in order to get this project off the ground. I can assure you, though, that the funding for this and a large portion of the reservoir project will be coming out of that 2010 bond, I believe, as well, that was issued for that. The Mont McDonald work was never completed. As the council president mentioned, there was the tanks that went in there. And therefore, we definitely made a move away from Mont McDonald doing any future work on the actual reservoir project itself. And the company Jacobs is really one of the best reservoir constructing engineering firms in the country, as I mentioned on Tuesday. And that's where we're proceeding with that. And, this is for the design of the 16 million gallon tank that we hope to have an aggressive community outreach in the West Ward, as we discussed before, and have that built at the 942 Prospect Street property.
So, Mr. Lavenberg, why did we didn't we just get another contract from Mont McDonald?
Mont McDonald is the contract for the water intake, and they had done the design on that. So now there'll be that contract's for the inspection of that.
Okay, thank you.
And we also have Mont McDonald still on retainer for regulatory issues as well.
Thank you, Council President.
Any other members wishing to be recognized?
You may continue with the vote.
Yes, ma'am. I will now proceed with the vote. Roll call vote for 20-645. Mr. Blakely, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Michal, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, sir.
No.
Ms. Vaughn, ma'am.
No.
Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
No.
Resolution passes by a vote of 4-3, so ordered. That does it for the resolutions. We have no second or first ordinances this evening. We will now move to the public, with your consent, Council President, we will now move to the public portion of the meeting.
Yes, go right ahead.
Public portion of the meeting is now open. Anyone wishing to be recognized, please raise your hand and wait for recognition. You have 10 minutes to speak.
Please
Mary,
state your name and address for the record. I'd like to speak on the 6.5 or over $6 million from HUD for the homeless. I'd just like to say it is incumbent upon administration and also City Council to assure that that money reaches the people here in the city of Trenton. We not only have older homeless people, we have teenage homeless. We have children that have been released from detention for whatever their infraction were, and that has a disconnect with their families. So they no longer know where their families are. And so they just roam the streets at night and they panhandle and they're in front of the stores. I believe that we need a better outreach. I don't know how much outreach we have, but we need to do a better job of it. And I thank you, Councilwoman Vaughn, for reaching out to our Civic Association. We really appreciate that. And also adding to that, I believe bulletin boards, that's a good start in the face. Everybody sees them. I don't have the answer for the outreach. I'm not an outreach person, only in my civic, and I try to work hard in that. But that would be a start also. Secondly, lead line replacement. I have received 2 appointments, Mr. Lavenberg, from Trenton Waterworks for appointments to come out. Pre your appointment, we were asked to send pictures of our lines there, our water lines that were in the basement. They were sent out, and they were identified as being lead lines. I personally have been given 2 appointments, 2 no-shows. Finally, after several calls, I got another email from Trenton Waterworks that stated they were in the Parkway. They were on Parkway, and they may be there for another month or so. And in a couple of months, they should be coming to the area. They should be. No definite answer. And having said that, is that we have six houses that I know for sure on Parkside Avenue that have given the information to Trenton Waterworks. And I'm talking on my own accord here. I can only talk for myself right here and my neighbor across the street. So that's 6 homes that has sent in the information that has had an outreach from Trenton Waterworks. No shows, no information as of yet. Now, I do know this. Wintertime is coming. And I believe I'm going to get caught up in that. So I'm going to be told, I hope not, but it's the inevitable. When winter comes, the work will stop also. We understand that when COVID came in, a lot of things stopped. Housing and economics, nothing with that either. But the bottom line is that our lives have been changed forever, and we have been working with everyone. We're taxpayers. Our taxes just went up. Mine just went up. I mean, everything went up. Water went up. Taxes, insurance went up. Taxes went up. So, but we're law-abiding citizens, and we pay our taxes. We laugh together. We grieve together. We come together, Lord willing. So all we're asking is that if we're in one area, I can talk for Parkside. Mr. Levenberg, can you get to us and let us know something? Because we've given the information that was needed. And I heard you say, if anyone has need answers to these questions, and I'm asking, if you could let me know how we can get in contact with you to see if we could be more expedient for this. And that's all I have to say tonight. I appreciate council. Thank you for listening. And be safe and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, next we have Moses J. seeking recognition.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. J.
Moses, please state your name for the and address for the record.
My name is Moses Jean.
Can you speak up a little bit, sir? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
My name is Moses Jean. Can you hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir. Now I can.
So my name is Moses Jean, and it is going to be 30 Jersey Street. What I have to say is I am so very disappointed in some of the council members. I have reached out to a few of them, minus Mrs. Vaughn and Mr. Rodriguez. Mrs. Vaughn, thank you so much for calling me back today. But I've been reaching out to a couple of the council members to get some things done. And when I tell you, I am so disappointed. To not get a call back, to not get an email back, to be ignored. When you guys want your tax payments, you get it. When you guys want all those fines and fees and water payments, you get it. But when we ask for things that we do not get them. I've been asking for almost, and a little background here, I'm moving to Trenton. I bought a property in Trenton. My wife and I are going to be moving here. And I'm actually sitting in front of the property right now. We can't get our lights on. We can't get it inspected. We can't get the water on. We can't get that inspected. So we have holes in our wall. I have a baby on the way that I can't get. My wife into this home and settle. I think it is absolutely disrespectful to me and to everyone else in this town that the council members do not respond. I have reached out to the staff in Trenton, and I have not gotten any response. I've been getting a runaround. I am 100% sure that all of you have seen some of my emails today, and there's very few of you that have responded to me. As well as I've asked to purchase property. Ms. Vaughn mentioned that earlier. We've been getting a runaround. Why is it so hard to purchase property? I'm sure if I was a Jewish man, or I'm sure if I was a large developer, I would be getting recognized. I'd be getting some sort of respect here, and I have not. I'm told that there's only 2 ways to purchase property, and I just don't get it. I'm told that Trenton wants more residents. They want better people. They want to change the narrative. And how can we do that if the city doesn't even support the people that are moving in? I mean, I bought this house in August, and I can't even get electricity. I'm paying the lady next door $50 a week so my contractors can work. How ridiculous is that? I would tell you that I'm so disappointed, and especially for Mr. Mushow. I really hope that 2022 is a rough year for you, because I will not be voting for you. I've called you numerous times, and I have not gotten a response from you at all. I have sent you emails. I've not gotten a response from you. And I apologize for seeming a little bit upset, but I got a family to raise, and I can't even move my family into this town because of the barriers. I get it. COVID is tough. It's hit us all heavy. I get it. But just to be ignored, when I go to City Hall, oh yeah, you just got to call the number. And no one wants to respond to you, or you don't get an answer, or they'll tell you call back at this time, or figure this out. And even with just the simplest of things, there's a tree that's growing into the house. I called 6 months ago. I mean, not 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago. Yeah, we'll send somebody out. The tree is now into the house, going into the gutters, lifting the street. I asked. No one has, and then now the number is disconnected. So now I can't find the person that I'm trying to speak to. You want your tax money, you get it. But when citizens ask for things, we cannot get those things. And I just don't understand. You want people to move into this town? Make it easier. I simply asked, hey, who owns this property? I found the property that I wanted to purchase. And the young woman before me that spoke, I found 3 homeless teenagers living in the home. And I felt so bad for kicking them out. And they said, we don't have nowhere to go. And I said, guys, I apologize. I don't know. I don't have the answers for you. And I couldn't find the answers for them. We're talking about 16. They couldn't be no more than 20 years old. So if you're going to give $6 million, get $6 million from HUD, where's that money going? I hope it's not into anybody else's pockets. You're going to pay $16 million for some reservoir, but you can't fix the city. I literally sat at this meeting, and I watched drug dealers go back up and down the street the wrong way. One of them went into the back of the house. I can count on my fingers as many times as I've seen Trenton police drive by this neighborhood. You want people to come to this town and move and spend money and start new lives? Make it easier. Make it easier. Again, I cannot stress to you enough that it has been so difficult. I'm supposed to move into this property in September. We had planned everything, and I can't even get an inspection done. I mean, I get that people have issues, and there's so many other problems going on. But when you want your stuff, and when you want fines or anything to be paid, it gets paid, and we can't get any response because you literally cash my check the next day. The next day it was cashed. I checked. And again, with purchasing real estate, why does it have to be so hard? I literally just want to bring my wife's parents next door. I want to buy the house next door so they can move in. I'm not asking for any help. All I'm asking is, hey, can I purchase the property? Yes, only do the redevelopment zone. And then I read through the redevelopment zone packet. That looks like this work. I mean, it is appalling to me. It is appalling how we're treated. And I watch the street, and I look at these Jewish guys come in, and they do what they want. They get everything done with how they need it. And even when I'm in City Hall, I was there today, I watched one gentleman ask for some help, and the security guards jumped in. They all wanted to be excited to help him. And then another older woman who's been a Trenton resident for 30 some odd years, they kind of just blew her off. And that's indicative of the staff in City Hall. I'm not saying everyone, but I've encountered that as well. So, again, my final word with you is, you want people to move here, make it easier. Make it easier for all of us to move here. I've asked for 4 simple things. I can't get that done. I've had to email. I've had to call. I called every single council member today. I've only received 2 calls back. And you want to be voted back in on 2022. I pray for the Lord that the citizens of Trenton see who you really are. I really hope they do. And maybe this is just me being treated this way. But if 4 out of 6, 2 out of 6 can reach back out to me and no one else can, then, that shows me how you were treating the citizens. But let's a $16 million contract or a $6 million contract be on the line, you're right there talking about it. Or let someone who wants to move into Trenton and start a family and buy property and build a community and create home ownership for minorities do it. It's not a big deal. So I really hope that you guys stay safe. Mrs. Vaughn, I hope to hear from you again. I really thank you again. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you so much. And I just, again, just true disappointment. And this is coming from a soon-to-be father, a soon-to-be resident, maybe a veteran, a homeowner, a business owner. You understand? It's just ridiculous. I'm watching a drug deal happen right now, and there hasn't been one police car back up in this street. It's just ridiculous to me. Let some money come into this town and let it line some of your pockets and line some of your interests. I bet you'll be on it. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Mr. Conlon, I never do this, but I just need to share with Mr. Moses that the city council can only report his complaints. If he reached out to Councilwoman Vaughn, submit your complaint to the administration, and it's up to the administration to get back to you. Councilwoman Vaughn has your phone number. Councilwoman Rodriguez, once you reach them, they would report your incident to a director. The city council members cannot have direct contact with the directors. We can only put the complaint in. We keep your phone number so that we can make sure that you got a response back. But we don't have a direct line to the directors. We have a liaison that we go to, and we give that information to the liaison. So if you reach one council member, that one council member has the same obligation that the rest of us have. Report it to the liaison. That is where the council and all the council could do and follow back up with the liaison. We do not have a direct contact with any of the directors. Sometime we have Maria Richardson will give us a call to see how we're doing, but legally, the only connection that we have to the directors is through our liaison. And so, Mr. Collin, you can take his number and you can report this to the liaison, and hopefully Councilwoman Vaughn will stay in touch with you to see if the liaison has gotten back on top of it. But when you come and dump this and say the city council is not doing their job, I just want you to know that the only part of this the city council can do for you is report it to the liaison. And as far as PSE&G, we have no direct communication with PSE&G, none whatsoever. So, Mr. Collin, if you could take his name, shoot that over to the liaison and see if he could get a call back. But he needs to understand what the city council's role is.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I don't want to take up any more time. Thank you for the response, but I think that was a terrible response. I think that...
Mr. Moses, I'm sorry, sir. Your time is up, sir. I apologize, but you have exceeded your time.
But I appreciate it. You guys have...
You've already ceded the floor, sir. Just for the record, the City of Trenton does not show favoritism to anybody based upon creed, religion, sexual orientation, or any other protected class. Council President, we now have Ms. Sherry Garrett who's seeking recognition.
Go right ahead, Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Council President McBride. I was listening today because I spoke on Tuesday, but just to reiterate some things in regards to some of the resolutions that was approved this evening. Again, I think we need to kind of stand down in regards to doing away with the reservoir. I did kind of look at the Delaware River and who oversees that. I know that New York abstracts water from the Delaware River, but they only allow so many tons. And that's a question. So we get rid of the reservoir. where does that leave us if the reservoir, not the reservoir, if the river freezes up? And also with the river having all those tree trunks, they have a forest of tree trunks. That means we have to treat that water, and we're treating it now. And I know a couple of resolutions were approved to purchase more chemicals. And just give you a heads up that more chemicals, we have to treat it to keep it from, I guess, from DEP's perspective, from it being toxic, but the chemicals in itself can be very dangerous and cause a health risk. So I think we need to kind of look at that before we get rid of the reservoir. And in regards to federal funded programs, the administration, all the things that you have been stating, the council has been stating in regards to employment, reports on, like when you were speaking about these nonprofit organizations helping the homeless and whatnot, all that has to be established as far as reporting. These organizations have to report, not have to, but make it a requirement that they report. For one thing, before they get a contract, it should be already a budget put in place. Because I thought for federal funds that they are being reimbursed. They put out the funds and then they're reimbursed for the funds. We're not supposed to be advancing any funds. So with that being said, there's supposed to be a budget in place and also reporting, depending on what is required of them, if it's in the contract, how many participants they planning on servicing or providing funds to, and that's supposed to be written in, that's supposed to be part of the budget they submit for reimbursement. So I don't really understand why there is no transparency, again, in regards to what we're doing in the Trenton community. I understand Mr. Moses' frustration, but again, we're passing a lot of these bills, these resolutions for the upkeep of City of Trenton, and I don't see a darn thing being done. I mean, honestly, I don't see no changes. I don't see anything, and I don't see the money moving in Trenton at all. What I do see is the money going out to take care of other people's families, where their kids can eat good, or they can eat good, they can pay their mortgage, blah, 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 but none of the people in Trenton can do that. Let's see, and I think for the Trenton Waterworks, again, I think a lot of those resolutions need to be tabled. I'm sorry, but I think you guys are approving these things without accountability. Changing the council. Oh, and I don't understand why I noticed this Tuesday, and of course today, there were some resolutions put on the docket here on this agenda for the first time, and it wasn't for the first reading or the second reading or any public comment. I don't know if there's a change or something. I don't know what that issue is, but, it seems like there's a change, and it's okay. Change is good. But I think, I live in Trenton. So I think it's, it's a little bit too much for me to be saying stuff after you all approved it after the fact. I think that, and again, I hear City Council and administration, a lot of this stuff should be already in the resolution, information. That's why these council meetings go very long, because these resolutions are being submitted, they're being voted on with not enough documentation, not enough numbers. I think contracts are being given out and awarded prior to them even giving you a budget of what it's going to cost for the work, what the criteria, what they're going to be doing or covering, who they're employing, none of that. So, I think, a lot of these resolutions that are being approved, that's not what, blindly. I'm sorry. I'm not saying I can't even say that, because that sounds like I'm not meeting what I'm saying. But I think these resolutions need to have more information before they are approved. And if they're not, they should be tabled. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett.
Next, we have Caitlin Fair seeking recognition, Council President.
Let's go right ahead.
Ms. Fair, please state your name and address for the record.
Caitlin Fair, 215 South Clinton Avenue, Trenton, New Jersey. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to thank the council members who voted no for Resolution 20-646. I think it's important that we absolutely are conscientious about the money that we're putting into the police department, and being very responsible in terms of holding them accountable. So we demand accountability from all of the nonprofits that we're giving out money to, and I absolutely agree that we need to be doing the same for our police department. We count on nonprofits to provide outcomes for the services that they're saying that that they're providing, and we need to do the same for the police department. So if we're pouring money into the police department, we should be seeing outcomes from that. From a personal standpoint, I don't believe that pouring more money into the police department is the answer to the reduction of crime. There have been tremendous amounts of studies and statistical data that supports that more police does not equal less crime, and that more policing is not a deterrent to crime. We cannot arrest our way out of the problem that we are facing in this city. And I think it's important to remember that when we arrest people and imprison them, they ultimately come back home most of the time. And if we don't have the resources to support people, either prior to incarceration or after incarceration, we are in grave danger of just a repeating cycle. So I just want to thank the council members who voted no and engaged in their due diligence to hold the police department accountable before granting them any additional funding. And I am hopeful that we will continue to demand accountability and outcomes from our police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Evangeline Ugori seeking recognition.
Yes, Miss Evangeline. Good evening.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I do echo the sentiments of my fellow Trenton City residents regarding the overall issue of accountability from our city government and administration in the People's House in the City Hall. I think I'm on record for hammering away at that at various meetings. So I'll leave it be for what it is. I'll leave the council people to vote their consciences and then take their falls or pickups where they may in the future as we progress with our civic duties, both as elected officials and as the governed. Now, I want to speak with particular reference to the resolution 2627 in response to, I believe, Ms. Constance Ladden response earlier. My initial aversion to this resolution in terms of the vote of yes to give $150,000 of our taxpayers' money to an outside outfit to help us with online tax sales for the city of Trenton, in Department of Finance and Division of Tax, regarding those tax sales and city-owned properties is, based on the fact that if we as residents cannot deal directly with our hired administrative officials, what is the expectation of reliance or any performance in terms of getting any answers from outside entities? I know the vote has been passed. I was one of the ones who basically stated that as an individual who is interested in this issue or area of the deliberations by council, I have done my due diligence to research these issues. I've expressed my particular interest. I do want to express my direct disagreement with the expediency and or the veracity of how the information is being provided from the tax division. Okay, I have yet to encounter any success in the area of accountability or clarity. Instead, what I hear are insinuations about citizens' rights to public information, blah, 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 and all of that stuff. I've done my homework, as I've stated to them, and I want to just take a few minutes and express to the people concerned in that department that Oprah provides. These are the stipulations in the citizens' rights to Oprah or public information. Okay, it says Oprah provides overriding public policies in the legislative findings. NJSA is 47:1A.1, which must be considered during the handling of all Oprah requests for access to government records. Those public policies are pertinently: government records must be readily accessible for inspection, copying, or examination by its citizens, with certain exceptions for the protection of the public interest. Okay? Any limitations on the right of access to government records must be interpreted in favor of the public's right of access. A public agency has a responsibility and an obligation to protect a citizen's personal information that is in the possession of a public agency when disclosure of that information would violate the citizen's responsible expectation of privacy. Let me state categorically, having read that, I am not asking for any citizen's private information. I have no use for that any more than I would want my private information given without express permission from me, and illegally so, to any other person. What I am asking for is public information, and I would appreciate if people would take the time and do their due diligence, read the Oprahs, understand what is being asked for, and please do your due diligence and supply the information. I don't know anybody personally, and I don't want to know anybody personally. My taxpayers' money is paying for your salaries, and when I come to ask for information, I do so objectively and without prejudice or malice, and would appreciate a return of information with accountability in that same frame. Okay, so that's what I have to say. You've heard others express their own expressions. Express their own experiences with lack of accountability and getting anywhere. So please, I haven't seen that expediency. I haven't seen that transparency in the forwarding of information. My particular interest, as stated earlier on Tuesday and in subsequent emails and communications that I have sent, have to do with public information and relative to a particular tax sale certificate of interest, for which I have yet to receive any cogent information to satisfy me that the city doesn't have that tax sale certificate to give to me. Okay? You have yet to produce that information, and what any information you have produced has raised more questions than answers. And I have made my final request today, and I will be taking actions moving forward. That's all I have to say. I will yield my time back.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to be recognized by the council? Do I have a motion to close public portion?
And so moved.
I have a motion by Council President McBride. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need one more. Any opposed? Aye. So ordered. All
Already trying to get in, but I thought I was only supposed to unmute myself from my phone, but I had to unmute from where you muted me. So I can go ahead?
Do you want me to proceed, Council President, and let her as an exception?
Yeah, I do want to hear her. We have closed the public comment, but we will.
I was steady hollering.
Go right ahead, ma'am.
Say your name and address for the record, please.
Valerie Thompson, Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes.
Okay. The first thing, the redevelopment plan, it seems that there's supposed to be a minimum amount of square feet before it can be considered a plan. And also the residents are supposed to be notified in writing at their home addresses when these plans are coming through. Because a lot of times we just look around and it's like, okay, this stuff is happening, but the homeowners are not being included. And I don't see how it can be a redevelopment when they're skipping over houses. And I know in other cities, there are forgivable loans and things to make sure everybody participates. The water line replacement. Some of the homes in my block alone, the main water line is already rusting out because apparently there was a certain treatment that was supposed to be done years ago to help keep the pipes from rusting, and that wasn't done. So these lines are ready to break, and we have to pay to have them replaced. And it just seems like whatever's happening from the street would happen at the same time to make it less expensive for the homeowner. Next thing, unresponsiveness of council people. There are some people on council where you cannot speak with them unless you attend a meeting at a nonprofit. But we did not vote to elect anybody at these nonprofits. We voted to elect the council people. So we should be able to talk to them directly through City Hall, like returning a phone call, not just ignoring us. And then we have these nonprofits they get money for what's called an Address Yourself program, where the people who live in the city, and especially renters, they are getting money to help with home ownership, but nobody is being told about that. It's just these nonprofits are purchasing property, rehabbing it, and then turning around and reselling it. And that's not the same as helping someone become a homeowner, where they're just doing like 3 houses at a time, because there's also funding from the state that's available for city residents. But it's a whole lot of things that no one's being told about. But the main thing is we should not have to depend on a nonprofit in order to talk to our elected representatives, because these nonprofits act like they own Trenton, like they run in Trenton, and that should not be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public portion has been closed, Council President. You may proceed to civic comments.
Yes, yes, before we go into civic comment, I just would like to say to the tax office and to the Housing and Economic Development Office that we do expect any taxpayer or resident coming through the City Hall to get information about purchasing property. They should not be coming in front of us. This is a very easy resolution to that, and that is they have to get the correct information. And I've been hearing not just from the people on this line, but from a lot of residents in this city that are trying to purchase property here, that they are being taken through hoops. And when we get resolutions and they're giving away this easement and giving away this alley and selling these lots for free, then you have residents coming up saying, hey, I tried to purchase XYZ. This does not need to come before the council. The departments need to handle their business, and they need to get the right information out to these residents and these taxpayers that are trying to purchase this property, and make sure they're giving the right information. And as far as the young man that spoke earlier, someone needs to get back to him. I understand that the PS&G is not our concern, and he should not be running a line to pay for any electricity, but there is a need for his concerns to be addressed, and the administration needs to get his phone number and address his concerns. And I wanted to put that out before I opened it up for the civic comment, because those are things that must be addressed. Councilman Blakely?
No comment.
Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson?
Not at this time.
Councilman Harrison? Councilman Joseph Harrison? Councilman Michelle?
Yes. For the record, in regards to that gentleman, Mr. Sheen, and I believe his address, he came out with Jersey Street, I believe. I could barely hear him. He made 3 phone calls today to my office. I returned it with a return phone number which he never called me back. If the gentleman is taking electricity from another house is illegal, he cannot do what he's doing in there. So for Councilwoman Vaughn, when you do assist the gentleman, make sure he's advised to the fullest. And if it is Jersey Street, that's one of the streets that is lit up more than any street in the city of Trenton that I lit up, because that area I considered Beirut, where all the shootings and everything was down there. It's a high crime area. So if this gentleman moved his family in there without checking the area out, shame on you, sir. That's all I have to say at this time. Thank you.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, in reference to Mr. Moses, he did call me today, and I told him what to do, who to contact in City Hall to the process. So I could. The problem with electricity is not PSC&G, it's the city inspectors, electrical inspectors have not gone to the house to do the inspections. He have been waiting for a long time for that. I believe there's a young family. He's aware of where he's moving to. I asked him also when he mentioned Jersey Street. I said, well, that's a hot area there. He said, well, that's no problem. I will move. I want to move there. I like the property. I would like to buy. I was trying to buy the property across the street and a lot also, and they have been giving me the runaround. Nobody have told me how to do it. I said, well, that's. But the thing is that we cannot treat possible residents, like educated people that want to move to the city, couples that want to move to the city, and we make things impossible for them. That's not right. The inspectors don't go and do the inspections. When they try to get information about how to acquire another property, they are not giving the right information. And it's not the same case. Because I had cases like that over and over. I had a case from 400 Center Street where a businessman was interested in buying the property from the city, and he was told that the city had already been sold. But I called back, and they told me, no, it's a city property. So that's the answers people have been getting. I'm not blaming Mr. Delisle for that, but there's people working for economic development that they are giving the wrong information to our residents or people that would like to invest. That is not right. They are told that, you have to be a developer in order to get properties. If that's the way, then we will never get new residents in the city. And we need those properties to be rehabbed and to be habitated. What Mr. Moses is doing in Jersey Street, I admire that. He has the guts to move to that street and rehab a home in that street. We should be encouraging everybody that has an initiative to go. Also, I have to talk about this liaison with the City Council. When we started 2 years ago with Mr. Andrew Bobby, after that was Mr. Andrew Fenwick, after that is Patricia Cadet, after that Mr. Manali, after that Ms. Cadet. Now is Mr. Lowry, that I really don't even know who that person is. He's they have been changing like every month. Then how can they follow up? You have to start all over again because they have their emails in their computers and they are not transferable to computers. So every time you have to go over and over the same issues when it's supposed to be a follow-up. I understand that we are not supposed to contact the directors the first time around. We're supposed to let the people know what to do, to call Public Works, if it's Public Works, or if they don't have the number, give them the number to the department where they have to call. But after they put the complaint, yes, we have to follow up with the directors. And Mayor Luciora could send me to jail if he wants to. But if I don't get the right answers and I get a complaint again, oh, they have not done anything, I'm going to contact the directors and I'm going to contact Mr. Luciora. I'm going to keep on contacting Mr. Manali. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes. It is, I mean, I just shared a sentiment, and I stand in solidarity with all the residents, because even though I'm on council, I experienced the same things, the same lack of service. I don't know what we need to do to motivate the folks that we've employed in this city since the mayor and this council took our seats. But I get some complaints that are unconscionable. My constituents have complained, even folks who lived in the city for 30 and 40 years, that when they go to City Hall, no one is even in the office. And that's a fact. And I don't frequent City Hall, but I've gone there and I walk around and I don't see anybody. And it's not just COVID, it was before COVID. So, and then the very few staff that are there, they have very little knowledge. And they'll say, oh, my supervisor is not here. My manager's not here. So don't think that Trentonians, I know a lot of the directors don't live in Trenton. And there's a perception that there's a lot of uneducated, unsophisticated folks living in Trenton. But I could tell you that is far from the truth. So the directors here who show up, I mean, we hear it from the folks who join our meetings in small numbers. We're not prepared. We don't understand what our resolutions are. We present our data in a very unprofessional way, unclean, not crisp, with little detail. So you present. You are what you when someone shows you who they are, we show our public who this council is by how we present ourselves. And if somebody speaking while I'm speaking,
I've muted, and please continue.
Yep. So I just hope that, Mr. Cruz, who's the business administrator, would huddle with the directors and all the folks that work in those departments and come up with a strategy or approach and really take this commentary that we're hearing here tonight. I mean, Mr. Moses John, he came here, he's not yet even a Trentonian. So you should take those comments seriously. That I know that there's many of Mr. Moses John. There's many of him. And as far as Mr. Michel's comments, and I'm going to, agree with Councilman Rodriguez, he's not using PS. It's not a PSE&G issue. I think everybody misunderstood the issue. But Councilman Rodriguez articulated correctly. And that's where the disconnect is. He has not been able to get an electrical inspection.
Oh.
Okay?
1 second. Can IT please remove that person who's commenting during the council person?
He hasn't been able to get an electrical inspection. So, And I know that I have done work on my house, and I could share the same sentiment, the same experience. So at the end of the day, we all know who sits at the helm. And it all starts at the top. And if the leadership doesn't care about the residents of the city that pay taxes, that fund the services and the departments of this city, then as Mr. John articulated, when 2022 comes, we remember. Look around you. It starts at the top. It starts with the executive. The executive sets the tone. Council President mentioned, she shared what our responsibility is. We have minimum, our responsibilities are legislative. It's very little we can do to affect the dynamic out there in our city. That's the administration. That's the mayor, and that's the business administrator. Those are the two individuals that can have impact based on how they lead and how they manage. So I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about again, I made my comments earlier about the police department. I just want to make certain that I mirror the same comments that a lot of folks in the community are saying, that you can't police your way out of it. And there's a lot of issues that the administration, Mayor Gus Yor, has to address that are impacting our security and our welfare in the city of Trenton. You have, Council President mentioned on Tuesday, we have a significant population that's in poverty. We have underfunded public housing. We have under-resourced public services. Every department in this city, every department at City Hall, every director that comes up to the podium, every meeting says the same thing. They have no resources to deliver. And that goes for the police department as well. And we cannot give anybody a pass. I'm not asking for anybody to give me a pass. I'm an elected official. Everybody on this call is either an elected official or an appointed official. If you're an appointed official, you have a duty and obligation under the law to service the electorate, the constituents, the residents and taxpayers. It's not an excuse to say, I don't have the resources. Come up with a strategy. Come to the council. We're about to embark on the budget. I want to hear from every director this time around what you don't have. And I want it on the table. But I tell you one thing, one department is going to get a lot of attention and a lot of scrutiny. It's the mayor's administration. He has a lot of resources up there, but I don't see the throughput. I don't see the productivity from coming to mayor office versus for an office that's so well resourced and funded. And the police department, I got to get some transparency out of what the police department is doing. Are they well funded? Do they have the right level of resources? In a time of crisis, our city is bleeding. Where's the prosecutor office? They should be right here. They have resources. They have tools. They're getting paid. I looked at that collective bargaining agreement. When we're able to make that public, and one police officer should not even think about not getting out of his car or her car and not getting out and walking around this city when you making 100 plus, when you making that kind of money. When you're making that kind of money. You're making that kind. You're making more money than you're making more money than a mayor. And most of you don't even live in the city. And you walk around, you drive around, and you don't want to get out of your car. And then you want to point fingers at everybody else. So I know I know the families who have suffered loved ones to gun violence. I know them personally. And let me tell you, the law enforcement, all the way to the prosecutor's office, all the way to the court system, is failing Trenton.
30 seconds.
Some people who have gotten shot and killed, and some people who are responsible for those deaths were arrested by the police department, was pushed back on the street because the prosecutor office didn't press charges. And in some instances, they released an individual and the person got killed. But that prosecutor doesn't think that he has to come to the city and talk to the residents of the city of Trenton. If he doesn't want to talk to the residents of the city of Trenton and help us resolve this problem and put boots on the ground to come and investigate these murders and get the bad actors off the street, then he shouldn't be the prosecutor anymore.
Time, ma'am.
So, and that's all I got to say about that. But I'm going to be speaking more on it. So I'm holding everybody accountable, just like folks hold me accountable. Nobody gets a pass in the city of Trenton if you're taking taxpayers' dollars. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, first I just would like to thank everybody that's on the line. I have a couple questions. I have a question in reference to Mr. Ed Kaloji. I wanted to know, because Mr. Kaloji, we're under oversight, DCA's oversight. And so I just did not understand how Mr. Kaloji was allowed to come to work on these calls, and DCA knew that he didn't have a waiver. The contract that was never signed, I would like some answers to those questions. How could that occur under DCA's oversight? So what I am saying to the clerk today, and I'm saying to all of my colleagues, we must make sure that every contract that comes up through this, is voted on through this council, we must make sure there's a signature and a waiver. I still today don't know what the explanation was. How could Mr. Kaloji be allowed to work without a DCA waiver? I would like answers to the question of how the administration could go into a MOU with a nonprofit.
Council President, we
begin to pay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You go ahead. Please continue.
How the administration could go into an MOU with a nonprofit and pay our city employees on PayPal. I need some answers. I need some answers from the prosecutor's office. I need some answers from DCA. Melody Walters, these things need to be addressed. I need to know how a person can rack up 71 hours to 40 hours in overtime, because as I can remember, under my first tenure and under Councilman Michelle's first tenure as the mayor, they took out an employee over at the waterworks for less than that. So I need to understand from the administration and from the prosecutor's office how it is individuals are clocking out 70 hours worth of overtime, 40 hours worth of overtime. This, I can't even understand that by the stretch of any part of my imagination. 70 hours in overtime. These things need to be answered. The prosecutor needs to do his part. The administration needs to do his part. And if they can't, then the council will have to do theirs. But it's not our responsibility now. That those time sheets are there in the administration's office. They need to pull those time sheets and start trying to figure out exactly what occurred here. And as far as the pay to play and all of that other stuff, that needs to go to the prosecutor's office. That is not the council's responsibility. That's the responsibility of a prosecutor. And so that is my statement tonight, is that someone has to be held accountable, because things have gotten terribly out of control. They're running roughshod over there, and it should not be occurring. And so I want an answer to how Mr. Kaloji could have been on this dais, on these meetings, and without a waiver. I want to know if the prosecutor has been informed about the overtime, and I want the Housing and Economic Development Department and the Tax Collection Department to address the taxpayers when they come to purchase property, because we're just not in the business for redevelopers. We're in the business of selling people homes. And if they come and they want to purchase a home and they want to live in this city of ours, then they should be granted the opportunity to do so. They should be granted the type of information they need to move forward. Again, I thank each and every one of you for coming. Tomorrow we have a roundtable discussion, if it doesn't rain, at 531 Martin Luther King Boulevard in the parking lot of Samaritan Baptist Church. It is to discuss the violence in our city and how we should be moving forward with the community. So tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon, we do have a roundtable discussion. And if it doesn't rain, if it rains, there will be a rain date. And I thank each and every listener out there and all of the residents that came. Your opinion matters. We are concerned about your concerns. And thank you again. And Mr. Collin, if you could ask for a motion to adjourn, I'd appreciate it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion to adjourn by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Michelle. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? All are in favor, none opposed, so ordered. We are adjourned at 8 o'clock p.m. Everybody, please be safe and well. Good speed to Miss Oda Williams. God rest you. And everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Amen.